Alright guys, so I got the ladder out so we can get on the roof. The storm's passed over, so we're ready to go. I just built all 4 of these brackets. Each one is kind of opposite, but basically you got a left and a right. They're adjustable, so we can put our solar panels at different, angles. The length is a little big, so I might cut the top. I think I'm going to leave the bracket on the bottom, but I might cut the bracket on the top, or I might cut both. We'll see. But basically, I was going to put both of these a long ways this way, so it would take up less room. But now that I'm looking at how these brackets work, I'm thinking it would be better if they tilt like this. So we'll probably put both of these connections in the middle. It's probably what we're going to end up doing. And then we'll end up running these long ways. So, I mean, I don't really need any more than 2 panels up there. This is plenty. So I'm not really worried about the room. And then that'll give me more room that I can actually walk around everything without having to get right up close to the edge. So basically, we got a stud finder. We've got aluminum studs. So I've got to go up there and find those aluminum studs. And then I've got to drill holes and mount these with self-tappers. And then we can carry these big heavy panels up there. And then we'll set them on here. And then we will we'll screw the back side in. And then we'll undo that. And then we'll screw the bottom side. We'll tilt it over and we'll screw the bottom side in. And then we should be good to go. So, all right, and then we're gonna do the wiring for the solar and then some other stuff. So, yeah. All right, let me get to it. Okay, so we just got hit with an insane storm that just came out of nowhere. Oh, that was not cool. So, totally soaked. I was still working in the lightning trying to get this. I'm like, if the lightning hits me, just let it take me out. I'm like, I gotta get this done. So, now you can see what an utter nightmare. Look at all the leaves. Look at the paint. So this paint obviously does not stick to aluminum, even though it says it does. That's a real bummer, huh? And this was me trying to work. Those were where I had my knee, so every place I had my knee where I turned, you had the paint coming undone where I was walking. So that's like, that sucks. But anyhow, that's the brackets up here. I drilled them, screwed them in. I've got to finish those 2 right there. And then we got to work on the wiring part of it. It was, man, I'm telling you what, it came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting rain today, and that was a really bad storm. Like, driving rain, freaking corn is going crazy, trees are bent sideways. It blew, it's freaking crazy. So anyhow, but there are the panels, they're mounted. You can pretty much do any kind of adjustment that you want out of this, so I can turn them, exactly backwards. So, yeah. They take up the middle, which I can't really walk in the middle anyhow, but I can walk all the way around the outside edge. So, there we go. And it looks like I'll have to do more paint, or maybe I have to, maybe I'm gonna have to switch to some kind of like a spray paint or something first. Do something for aluminum first, and then paint this over top of it. I'm not sure. I got like half a tub, like 2.5 gallons of that paint left, so it's not a big deal if I got to do something different. But there you go. All right, praise God. Well, all right, guys, here we go. Dude, this is like coming along, isn't it? Look, can you see the solar panels up there? Trying to hold it up as high as I can. We got solar panels up there. We got an awning. We got a big, crazy looking AC unit. We got some outdoor power. We got some windows. I think we're on round 3 for the door locks. So maybe we'll get the right ones. And then these things just pull down, but I didn't want them whacking. And then I just found that they have these little clippy clips for like paddles on sailboats and stuff. So they have these little stainless steel clamps that those will just like clamp into. And then apparently I'm gonna have to do something for the feet, because the feet look like they're just gonna sink down in some mud. So we gotta kind of figure that out. If I could weld, or had a welder or something, it would just be like, yeah, just weld some metal there. But maybe we want something more substantial. Anyhow, it is beautiful, guys. I mean, I can't tell you how beautiful it is right now. It rained last night, and now it cleared. So Team Satan is spraying so much and so constantly and so relentlessly that it's like the moment that, you know what I mean? And they're starting fires and they're doing this. There's so much pollution and so much everything that, like, by the afternoon when you look up, the freaking sun is white. I mean, it's freaking white. It's not even yellow. Like, it's just white. And you're just, and it's like scorching you, and everything just feels like humid, and you're just like, gosh, just leave me alone. And this morning, it's like, this is what normal feels like. You know, and it's just like, man, it is amazing. It is cool. The wind is perfect. Like, I just love being alive. And it's like, we've been under such an onslaught of all the things that they're doing. I mean, just think about all the weather events and how exaggerated everything has been. Think about all the hail damage, all the mass floods now where you get a 1,000-year flood every, once a year. Think about all the people's crops that have been destroyed by Team Satan, all the infrastructure, all the exaggerated tornadoes, lightning, the floods, the landslides, the fires, all the stuff in the chemtrails act as an accelerant, Think about all of the stupid things that they're doing, because as they do that, they're like, oh yeah, the climate is changing, it's changing. Now we need to take away more of your rights and more of this and more of this and lock you in a little box and put flock cameras on every corner and give you digital IDs, and we need to, and at the same time, they're like destroying the dollar. So everybody wakes up and they go to work, and then they put in all their time and their effort, and then they come home and they put that in the bank, and then Team Satan cuts your paycheck in half in the bank. And you're like, well, how did they steal half my paycheck? Because they're printing money to go do all of their wars and do all of their little black projects and all of their little evil deeds that they do. So your money becomes worthless. And you're like, well, I put it in there and I have the same amount of money in my bank account, but it only buys half the stuff. And it's like, is anyone else trying to survive here? Like, yeah. Just think about what would happen if they just quit. You know what I mean? And it'd be like walking out here in this morning and going and like looking at these big freaking trees, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. That's how God describes it in the book. He describes Team Satan as the feller. Okay? Now these are old archaic like KJV terms, but the feller is like the person who has an axe and he fells the tree. He cuts the tree down. And God likens us as the trees. So he says that the feller is no more, and the little trees rejoice. Doesn't that describe it perfectly? Don't you like the way God describes things? I mean, look, even I have apple trees, and my apple trees are always perfect. Nothing ever touches them, and it looks like somebody sprayed Roundup on them. So they're spraying things to. I did a test one year where I built an entire shelter, and I put the shelter over my vineyard, and my vineyard was perfect, and I had perfect grapes. And then a derecho, where it's like a straight line storm, where Team Satan is what do you call it? They're using Doppler radar to spice up and add a bunch of electrical energy into the atmosphere, which if you have a bunch of metal and different metals, you can charge the metals in the atmosphere, right? And then if you can charge them, then you can manipulate them. So when you manipulate them and then send these just think about a bunch of little storms, and if you can send a big wave into it, you can gather all the little storms and push it into one big, and then you get these big red line storms that are in the shape of frequency, which is what they're using to do these things. But of course, you never see that on your normal radar. You have to go to places that they've deleted a lot of those websites and radars so that you can't actually see what they're doing, but it's happening. And so I had a derecho that came that literally bent all the trees sideways, took all the EMT metal, ripped it out of the ground, and it was just flinging in the wind. And I was just I just watched a month's worth of work just go down the drain. I was really pissed. But yeah, it proved the point that, just having something completely covered up like that. So if they would just quit, but they're not going to quit. It's actually going to get worse and worse. And no one wants to talk about why. Why? So there's a story in the Bible about when God's kingdom was actually set up. Do you know that his kingdom was only set up on earth for a very short period of time during the reign of Solomon, the beginning of Solomon years. And in that time, the kingdom was so great that the people from all over the earth came to witness this great thing. And everybody wanted to serve God because this was great. And everyone kept God's covenant and kept his statutes like Passover and all of the tabernacles. They offered their offerings to God, and everything was, for once in our life, everything was the way it should be. And then the people got corrupted, and everything went astray, and God judged them. And you've never had that again. And Team Satan now, and it doesn't matter which religion you are, even if you're, Jewish or whatever, they won't actually teach you God's covenant. And that might be surprising to Christians who are Christians. You're taught that, guys, there's an evil spirit. It persists in every religion, telling you lies and tricking your religious leaders in every religion. Okay, it doesn't matter which religion. But so for the Christians, they'll think, well, no, the Jews they're all Talmudic and they keep the law and they do this, and we don't need to do that anymore because our pastors told us we don't need to do that. And it's no, that's actually not how it is. Over there, they have their religious leaders who created a different book, and the Talmud, who actually talks about how the rest of the world is goyim and scum and everything else, and they actually hate their Messiah. And the things that their religious leaders tell them that they can do, you wouldn't believe the things that are written in that book. And then they lie and deceive the rest of the world, saying, support us, we're God's chosen people. And so they put on a mask, and then
They pretend to be something that they're not, and then they use the rest of the world until the world finally figures out that they're lying and that they've been used the whole time. And and then in Christianity, so in Christianity, then they teach you that well, here is our Son God. They don't teach you the Son of God. They teach you the S-U-N of God. They've just taken everything from Egypt and all of the other, and then they've just woven that to create something to give you an appearance of actually serving God. So this is really no different than what Jeroboam did when he led all of Israel astray in those days, where God was really pissed at Jeroboam and all the rest of the kings that followed in the ways of Jeroboam. So, people don't, and most Christians have no idea. They have no idea the difference between, what's the difference between Passover and Easter? They really don't know the difference. They don't see anything wrong with keeping Easter. They don't see anything, or they don't understand Christmas. There's so many things. They're just going along with things because their pastors are telling them things, just like your doctor tells you, go get a vaccine. It's safe and effective. You just go along with it. And you're going to all learn the hard way. You're going to learn the hard way. And God tells us in the book, he talks about the remnant of people who actually have the faith of Christ and actually keep God's commandments. That it's such a rare group of people that it becomes a remnant of people on the earth. A remnant. And that all the nations go astray and all the things. And God tells us all of these things, and it's I don't know. It's really bizarre that, so if you want to walk in God's covenant with Him and enjoy, do you want the joy? Do you want the peace? Do you want the good things that the Father... If you read the stories and you read the history and you read what God was actually trying to do in that book versus all the stories and all the things that your pastors have taught you, you know what I mean? It tells a different story. You see a different, everything, your entire reasoning. You don't even realize that your mind is stuck in this, imprisoned in man's ideals and man's ideas and the idolatry of mankind. You don't even realize, and it's just kind of like walking out here, and you look around and you're just you've been under such an onslaught of chemicals and everything else. It's it's killing all the trees around you, and because you probably just go to a store and buy your food, you probably don't realize that when plants get stressed out, that's when the bugs attack them. And the same thing as with the trees. When the trees are stressed out because the chemicals and everything else has been dumped on them constantly forever, guess what? You get little vine borers and all the little things that they go and eat the trees. So everybody's yeah, we've got these infestation, and everybody out west is always the bugs, and they're eating the trees. And I'm yeah, because they're spraying death on you every day, constantly. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable the things that are going on. And the reasons why they're going, why does God allow evil people to do what they're doing? God allows the evil people to do what they're doing because the righteous people won't actually be righteous and serve God and do what He says. Believe in His Son and keep His commandments. Why do you think God's commandments are old and that they're dumb? He gave you His Son. He gave a Son for an offering for you so that God's Spirit would be able to come to you so that you could walk in covenant with God. And you call the covenant old. But that was the whole purpose. Why did He give you His Son in the first place? Do you read the stories? He said, the spirit of this people will never walk in covenant with me. And then He prophesied, I know what I'll do. And He never told us He would give us His Spirit. He never said that. He never prophesied that. He just said, there's coming a day. And Jeremiah was the last prophet, okay? And in Jeremiah, he said, there's coming a day when I'm going to basically renew my wife to myself. And she will walk in covenant with me, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. We didn't know how that was going to come to pass. That's why Paul, when he talks about Christ, he talks about the mystery of salvation has now been revealed. We didn't know. We didn't know that God was going to give us an offering, that through the offering, the Spirit of God could come to us. We didn't know that, But now that we do know that, we don't even know the purpose of it. It's like now everybody's just like, I believe in the offering. And then they go around worshiping the offering instead of worshiping God. And Christ told them himself, don't worship me. I'm not good. There's only one who's good, God. And then everybody runs around calling Christ God. And then no one keeps his commandments, which was the whole point. And then you wonder why Team Satan has full reign to do all of the things that they're doing to you and why God doesn't rebuke them, Because you're not doing any of his expectation for anything. And it's just like, you know how much different it could be in the earth if people just had a change of heart and actually just served God Imagine what it would look like if the kingdom of God was in the earth and we actually did what he said and actually believed in his son. And imagine how much better life could be for everyone like your health, your job, your state of your spirit, your state of being. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go to counselors and go to a shrink and try to do yoga and meditate and all of the things. You know what I mean? Like, because you have peace, because you walk with the Father. You don't need to go fulfill your time and waste it on lusts and everything else, because you have peace with the Father and you're content. You're not struggling about all these things, trying to survive, because the Father gives you enough because you serve him. He makes what you bring home enough. Did you know that the Father can multiply things? Did you know, like you can have one tomato plant, and that tomato plant can bring enough for a family, or it can bring enough for one person? Did you know that? If you keep God's commandments, did you know that's a thing? You don't need ultra fertilizer to make that happen. Like, God just makes it happen, and you watch it and you're like, wow, this is so cool. I mean, this is bizarre. All right, I'm gonna get back to work though. I'm just getting started for the day. It's just, it is so beautiful right now. It's just like, man, it is amazing. So, man, if they would just quit all the spraying and all the stuff that they're doing. And it's hard, because you know that the worst of everything is coming. And that no one will believe that their religion is in vain until we go through the things that we're about to go through. And all the death and all the suffering and all the things that are coming. And if they actually believe God, they would be preparing right now. Working in faith and preparing, and they don't do that either. Because some pastor told them that they're going to be raptured. Because somebody has no understanding of what that actually means. So, live in faith to the Father. And actually keep his commandments, and actually believe in his son, and actually come out, and actually be willing to suffer in order for you, chase after your Sabbath with the Father and enter into it. If Christ had given you rest, then God would not have afterwards spoken of another day that you were supposed to live in faith to inherit. Seek ye first the kingdom of God above all things. He tells you, many are called, few are chosen. The first shall be the last, and the last shall become the first. He tells you all of these things. All right, praise God. Okay, so here's what the solar panels ended up looking like. You know what? I had the solar panels sitting here leaning against the side of the RV, and look what they did to the paint. From me walking around inside and them just in the trailer moving. I'm like, holy crap, dude. Now I gotta fix the paint. So the top is destroyed. There's water, leaves. The paint, I was up here in the middle of a thunderstorm while it was lightning, so the paint was getting wet, and when I was moving around, it now twisted the paint off, so now I gotta paint more. So what a pain that is, huh? So I need to sweep off these metal shavings, and then we're gonna figure out where the solar goes and get the solar input, but not bad, huh? Not bad.
they're angled right at the sun right now, but we can lay them flat and we can angle it backwards. Angle it in a lot of different directions now, however we need to do it. Mostly they'll probably just be flat, but now we got options at least. So let's get some solar wiring hooked up and then we'll be done. All right, so here's basically our 2-to-1. So you got a positive and a negative off each panel. This is a 2-to-1 splitter, so you're taking both your positives, both your negatives into one wire. One wire we're gonna run in. Typically this is gonna be a thicker gauge, like a 10 or maybe an 8 if you've got a lot of panels. This is your little connector thing on the top. The more that you screw these down, it crushes this foam, so you have a leak tight thing. So all you got to do is drill a big ass hole wherever you're going to put this thing and run your wires. So let's do it. All right, so that's basically it. I drilled and put 4 screws in each corner just to hold it down, and then cocked over the screws. So now I should have enough to move this thing wherever it needs to go. Installed, solar's done. Okay, so the solar is ran, and I just use screws. Oh, is that coming? I hope that's not leaking. Is that water off of my... Huh. Okay, so just need to do the final hookup for those. I'm gonna do 1 row of lighting down the middle, like the ones that recess in. So what I did is just bunch the wire like this, and then I've got 1 point of measurement from here to the center of this one. Okay, and then from there it's just 32 for the rest of them. So I'll be able to just mark my cutouts and just set the sheet up there like that. So it'll be pretty easy. Everything's already up there where it needs to go ahead of time, okay? I will have to run a wire for this side along that top, but we're not quite there yet. I removed everything down here, so now we are ready to go with this, so we can put our shower pan in. And now we're over to the stove. So I just cut this to 4 feet, and then I cut those 3 things. We're gonna put those 3 things on the wall. We're gonna screw that metal up to the wall, and then we're gonna work on this little shield thing, and then the shelving real quick. And then I might have to run to town to get the mortar cement, and we're gonna take this whole thing apart again, and then mortar cement all of the cracks from the inside out, and then like do the final install of it. Okay. No. Okay, guys. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, so these are my shelves. Obviously, I got to take the pipe off to put them on. Okay. But we got to cut this last piece. It's going to go in the ceiling, right? There we go. There we go. No more. Okay, and then we're going to have to put this little thing up there, which means I need insulation, which means I need the ceiling. I need the ceiling done. So, we got, basically the wiring on the ceiling is done. So I can really, right at this point, I really need to put the ceiling in. Which means I need to frame, I'm gonna have to frame these out. I'm gonna have to do something. Like the windows, we need to frame those out somehow. I'm not sure how to do that exactly, because those don't go down in there very deep. So we got to figure out what we're gonna do there. But basically we're kind of done. Like this side is basically done. I'm thinking upper cabinet right there, right? The seat will go back. we need to do that. I need to install this thing with the arch, so that's the next thing that we're going to work on. So then we need to take all this stuff apart, take the stove out, disassemble everything from that pipe down, do the ceiling. So yeah, guys, yeah. And once I get that electric stuff done there, then basically I can do the insulation and do the rest of the siding there. Do that wall. So guys, I mean, we're like 1, 2, 3 walls, and then we're on to the last. This last wall is going to be the big issue. Sure. All right, let's just not even talk about that. Okay, there was the final fitting of the shelving units. So the shelving units are in. You know how cool that's gonna be to be able to like set some gloves and some shoes and hang some things on here. It's a better rack than I got in the house. Alright, so there's the curved shield. So I was able to kind of use these bottom things and just drill a hole and zip tie the tops. But we're definitely going to want one on the bottom. So I threw this insulation down here and then kind of bent it the way that I want and then marked it. So now we've got a mark. Boom. So let's go try to bend something onto that mark and then cut off the ends and then bring it over here and screw it all together. All right, guys. All right.
This and that.
So,
but they can't fight drone swarms, okay?
Okay. So here was my mark. I'm not really a good pipe bender or anything. Like, I've bent a few. But, I mean, I think it's close enough. So I'm going to put it up there really quick, but these were my cutoffs, but I'm just going to put it up there just to be sure that everything looks okay. And I'm going to mark these ends, and then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to try to drill holes through this. And then I'm going to put the pipe on the inside this time because it's going to be easier, I think, for me to do it like that. So let's try to get this bottom thing in. All right.
My opinion, that's
all right. So it looks okay. I guess I should have bent that back there, but we're not going to mess around with it. So I pre-drilled, got all the screws in. Now let's just cut these edges off, and I think that'll be good enough, huh?
I'm sorry.
Do I need another one at the top?
To realize if they don't
or is that good enough?
With Jesus Christ, they will embrace the Antichrist. Antichrist means in place of Jesus, not just against him. So
I think that's good enough. I don't want to have to bend another one. That's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
All right.
As Doug mentioned,
all right, guys. We cut the last piece.
Are you serious?
Put it up there. Trace the little thing, cut it out with 3.5 inch hole saw.
I didn't control it.
So bam. So all of our stuff for the stove is done besides taking it apart and then doing the inside with either fire block or I need to do these seams. So I don't think high temp silicone sealant is going to be enough in the box because the fire will be too hot. So we got to figure out what we're going to use. But we got to seal the inside of that stove up. So right now, I guess it's finished the ceiling, which means I need to run 2 more wires, and then I need to go get a whole bunch of that styrofoam and start putting the styrofoam in. So let's get to it. Okay. So this is the screen for the back door, and that guy gave this to me for free, so I'm just seeing if I can make it work. It's too big. It's 8 foot, and I got 7 foot. So I just put it out. I cut that thing off. We have to cut this metal tube. I just opened up the ends of this because I have no idea how the hell this thing works. But in this end, I found this big spring.
Something called dissociative identity disorder in their personality.
So it looks like,
and that's a survival mechanism. That's
this side
all the pain from all the abuse.
Is the side that's you're gonna have to wind this thing up somehow.
Generally,
We used to call it multiple personality disorder.
You have to wind it up, put it in here. So I'm not sure how many winds or how much we need to do for all of that stuff. But basically, that side's free to cut off. because this just has an insert that goes back in. So we should be good.
Trauma-based,
So I'm going to cut this off,
I believe.
cut the screen off,
Right?
and put this thing back in. Put this clamp, this metal clamp thing back on. And
deprivation of birth, you can have genetic disorders that affect the brain.
I put a piece of wood in here. Oh gosh dang it. I went to get screws. I didn't get screws. I gotta go get screws, put some more screws in here. I'm trying to get to the back part of this where this needs to go so I can do the insulation and all that stuff.
That can give
That's the goal here.
And that's the reason that sexual abuse is generational. Because sexual abuse gets passed down.
Yeah.
A boy.
So I don't know really what I'm doing, but we're gonna figure this out.
Radars out there, right there, ready to be blown.
Don't know why that just shut off, but then I moved on. So like I framed the.
Specifically this Latina
Doesn't that
girl.
look good?
What is it, like 19 years old from Texas?
Okay.
They
Now
posting her pictures.
I put the one frame
As if
up.
to say, you know,
This will
the enemy shoot back.
this will be the catch
I don't mean to make light of.
for the
My God, you've joined. If you join
Okay.
the military right now,
the rest of the ceiling.
it is
This is the flat face for that whole
civilians in other countries.
mount.
Did you think that it was?
I'm gonna end up having to use these on the side, and then I'm gonna have to router down
negotiations.
a spot because this only needs to be an inch on the top, so I've got to get 2 more of these.
Yeah. And any day now, I expect that.
Then over here for this, like I went ahead and I had boards that I had cut from my beehives left over, so I went ahead and cut those, routed out around this little thing, so that this. Shit, dude.
You know, tiny tornado, right? Right. And that's what's
Where did my
taking a long time.
My sheet just went over there.
Collect it together, and that's what's happening. This is
Okay.
we're not done yet. I want to give each of you though
Thank
an
you for the-
opportunity to plug your your channels, your websites, and then after that, I'm gonna ask each of you where you think
Yeah.
this is going for the rest
So
of this calendar year.
we are now on to the ceiling. So I'm cutting out the ceiling pieces.
Go ahead and share how.
These are going to be the lights.
Well, I have a Substack.
They're spring loaded.
Regular on Substack.
So apparently I need a 2 1/4 inch hole saw, which I only have a 2 or 2 1/2.
Is just for
So I'm just doing 2-inch hole saw right now in the insulation to put it up there, and then I'm gonna have to get a 2 1/4 to do the because I don't want to have to do the I don't have to jigsaw or do something weird.
Lots more. I got a stack.
So
Those are great books. But
we're gonna get some of the roof pieces on and see how that goes.
Now.
Okay.
All right, guys, not too exciting of a day right here, but we're just doing insulation on the ceiling.
For a long time.
So this is our double row, and we've pulled down our wires to wire in our lights later on.
And that person said, "Oh,
And I'm running through my screws pretty darn quick, so I'm gonna make a
what would you think?
late night screw run,
You were going crazy.
get some things, and
Your friend is lying.
yeah,
Is it
we'll be
possible
doing the
that
paneling on the ceiling and other things pretty soon.
where you thought you were talking to your friend?
Praise God.
You going crazy?